Okay. But how are you supposed to do an intro and everything if we're just doing the audience, let's have a chat? I don't understand.
Well, I mean, like, we just talk like we would on the cell phone about, what's going on in our day-to-day lives. Kind of like, why we started this podcast in the first place.
Okay, that's fair. But how do you do an intro? You can't do your, hi, I'm TowManG and welcome to my show.
Yeah, well, we'll do that part just because they need that introduction in case this is their first episode, I guess. Or I could just cut one out of the previous episode and paste it over top.
Or you could just record something after.
What do you mean?
Well, like, just you record it off-site after.
Oh, so do it myself?
Yeah. You're good at those.
Am I?
I don't know. You're better than me at them. I haven't done them.
I guess. I don't know. Welcome to the Towing Life podcast, where the ditches are deep, the trucks are loaded, but the drivers are not. I am your host, TowManG. PlainGuy's not here right now. He is in the rest of the video. From what you just heard, he said, "You do it yourself, Towman." So here I am doing it myself. We decided to do a more grassroots edition of the podcast, I guess you could say, going back to just two guys shooting the breeze. Let us know down below in the comments over on YouTube, if you are watching on YouTube, if you like this format better, and we can try to do more of it. However, if you don't like this new style, you can reach us at www.thetowinglife.ca. You can send us an email at thetowinglife@gmail.com, or you can find us on Facebook at The Towing Life Podcast. Let us know. We like to hear from you. If you're on YouTube, hit that like button. Don't forget about our recovery of the month. You can submit your entries to win a $50 Amazon Canadian gift card. We just released our winner last month. And if you enter this month, you have the chance to win every month leading up to the end of this giveaway, recovery of the month thing. Yeah, this is PlainGuy's normal thing to do. So I'm just going to let the intro play, and I hope you enjoy this episode. Hey everyone, I'm Brad from Calgary.
This is Sean from Cambridge, Ontario.
I'm Terry from Cornwall, Ontario.
Hey, this is Larry from Pitt Meadows, British Columbia. And you're listening to the Towing Life Podcast.
If I don't want it to turn into a bitch fest. That's my biggest concern, is we have so much that we can absolutely just, like, I miss the road. I have been locked in an office too long.
Yeah.
And I am missing the road.
You're missing the road. I'm missing the recoveries and stuff.
Yeah, we haven't had a wreck in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
I had two of the stupidest calls today.
Yeah.
Not stupid. The one wasn't kind of stupid, honest mistake. Okay. I get a call from a roadside company to go on the 401. It's a lockout.
Oh.
Okay. Which is like, okay, that's kind of odd. There's a little more to it. They go, no, it's actually that they can't get a door to close.
Oh.
And I'm like, okay, that's weird. But it's a 2023 Ford Edge. So it's brand new.
Unless they messed up on the year, which they do all the time.
No, this they actually got right. It was a 2023 Ford Edge. And what happened was the people had pulled over on the side of the road to engage the child lock on their door because they had kids in the back seat. I don't know how they thought a child lock worked, but what they ended up doing is flipping the latch, like the actual door latch, upwards. So into the latch position, and then trying to slam the door, which then just jammed that latch up.
So all you had to do is actually pull the handle and pull out on the latch at the same time for it to pop.
It was a little jammed. I had to
Mm.
fight with it a little bit because it was like, I'm guessing they gave it a couple, the first one didn't work, so they probably gave it a couple more, which is what people do.
Especially on the side of the highway. It's you kind of don't want to be hanging out there too long.
Exactly. So I'm guessing the reason they were trying to engage a child lock while going down the highway is one of the kids obviously played with the door while going down the highway to start with.
Yeah, that wouldn't be fun.
So that was an easy call. Then I get a call from our local city, like the township.
Yeah.
For a truck that is out in a park about 200 feet from the pavement.
Yeah.
It's March, the end of March in Ontario.
This is a service truck, like for the town.
No. This was like a pickup truck for the town. But yeah, well, like, nothing, no box on the back. Like just a.
Were they out taking down snow fencing? Because I know that's a big thing right now.
No, they were picking up garbage.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So they drove their 2-wheel drive Chevy 1500.
Yeah.
Around they had the boards up for the rink, which apparently never got used all winter.
Oh, okay.
Around the boards and towards the back low level. And like as soon as he came in, I was like, at what point did you think this was a good idea? Then he goes, honestly, I thought it was a bad idea as soon as I left the pavement. And I'm like, so why did you keep going? He went around and around to the back and finally buried it. The farthest spot from the pavement that he could find. We had 150 feet of line. You lose 20 on the bed.
Yeah.
Every chain on that thing just to reach him, and had to do it in like 2 or 3 stages.
Yeah.
To make the turns and go around. And it was just like, my God, this guy's probably on the sunshine list.
Yeah. But you'd be surprised how many times people realize that something they're doing is dumb or idiotic and they decide to keep on going. Like my mom got into an accident and it was a 1-ton cube van that was coming down the hill with no brakes. She was sitting at the stoplight and there's a building right on the corner. So she got the green light. She started going in the intersection. She looked, she was like, oh no, he's not going to stop, and hit the gas. If she hit the brake, she probably wouldn't be here, but she hit the gas and the cube van took her right in the box, like the box of the pickup truck.
The cube truck took your mom in the box.
She spun around 2 or 3 times in the intersection. Halfway through, she realized, hey, maybe I should take my foot off the gas pedal. Hit the curb so hard with her front driver's tire, it rolled the truck up. And when the truck came down, the tire stayed on the curb sideways.
Okay, but that's different because that is a split second.
Well, this guy, he went around the corner. He kept going for about 500 meters before he could get the vehicle to stop. After he hit my mother, there's 3 guys in the truck. The 2 of them were hanging out the door with their feet on the ground trying to get this thing to stop. The officer came up and said, so what's going on? He was like, oh, well, I got no brakes. It's like, okay, well, when did you notice this? Well, 3 sets of lights back, I realized the brakes were a little spongy. And you kept going. Yeah, and then at the next set of lights, it was even spongier. So you kept going, the officer said. Yep. And then at the 3rd set of lights, coming down that hill, there was no brakes left.
When do you think you realized you had air in the system because you ran out of brake fluid? At the 3rd set of lights, officer. Okay.
Yeah.
On a commercial vehicle, obviously, because it's a cube truck.
Yep. So my mom she was so upset. That was the first vehicle she ever paid off to. She had it paid off and she only had that truck for 6 months. But she swears that Hemi motor saved her life just for that get up and go.
No, that is, you know what, the cube trucks and all that, like how many times do you see? I had one the other day, a cube truck. This guy is from a province that will remain unnamed.
Quebec.
I didn't say it. They're driving down the highway with their Chevy 3500 single rear wheel cube truck, right? And they blow a left rear tire.
Okay.
While they're passing a transport.
Of course.
Where do you think they decided was a good spot to pull over?
In the hammer lane.
on the left shoulder. Sorry, it was a right rear wheel. I apologize. I lied. It was a right rear wheel in the hammer lane shoulder.
Yeah.
They decide that is the best place to pull over.
Because there was a semi truck to the right of me.
Yeah, because you stopped on a dime.
Yeah.
It's not like you didn't let off and keep
It wasn't
rolling
like it was your driver's steer tire and it pulled you into that median.
No, it was actually the other side. So if anything, it would have pulled to the right.
Yeah.
Like, good job saving it, not hitting the semi. I'll give you props for that.
Yeah.
Bad job on the decision making whenever you decide I'm going to pull over on the left shoulder.
Yeah.
Like,
And especially out where you are, there's normally a fair bit of space in between each vehicle. It's not normally.
Well, it's not even that. It's not like you're concrete to concrete with rush hour traffic and there's no gaps. Exactly. Like, there's gaps to move over.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So now we're running into the problem with this thing. You can imagine the night this led into.
Yeah.
It's too tall to go on a flatbed.
And it's a rear tire.
And it's a rear tire.
Is the van loaded?
Heavy enough.
Yeah.
So what do? So the first thing I did is my plan. This plan went sideways fast. My plan was simple. We are going to hook it up from the front. We had traffic control.
Yeah.
And we are going to get it off to the next off ramp, which is a little farther than I'd like to go.
Yeah.
And at that point, we're going to flip around, grab it from the rear, and take them to where they want to go. It's not that loaded. And the wrecker could have done it.
Yep.
We purposely sent the wrecker because, again, we knew it was too tall to go onto a flatbed.
Mm-hmm.
So we start dragging it off the highway. So we get going. We move over to the right shoulder, and we're crawling along the right shoulder. And what's left of the tire disappears, and the rim's just dragging. And so we decided at this point, we're going to pull over here. We had managed to pull over to an area where there was an on-ramp for a closed service station. So we had an extra lane of traffic as a buffer zone to work, which is, ideal. And we had to change the front tire to the back tire. And then tow it from the front and remove the drive shaft and everything else. The problem we had is the operator in that truck had a very small jack. And it could not lift the rear of the truck. Then I call the operator and I say, hey, did you take your impact out of the truck? Yep. Did you leave a breaker bar in the truck? Nope. Okay, where's the T-bars? Well, I don't put them in there because I keep my impact in the truck. Okay, but I don't have an impact right now. So here I am with this gets better, a 3/8 ratchet.
Looking real professional after just dragging this thing down the road.
Yeah, looking like a pro.
Yeah.
With a 3/8 ratchet. Breaking these lug nuts loose. I mean,
and you got to do 16 of them because they're 8-bolt.
Yes, they are.
So 32.
So I get it the front jacked up. I get the good tire off. I set up some cribbing. I put the vehicle down.
Yeah.
I get to the back. I crack all the lug nuts. I go to jack up the rear. The jack won't lift the rear of the truck.
That's our
So now we're pulling a 180 on the highway.
And using the tow truck to lift up the back of the van.
Using the tow truck as a big hydraulic jack to lift the back up, to change the tire, put the good tire on.
At that point, you might as well just hooked up to the back and put the front tire back on and said, hold your coffee, we're doing a U-turn on the highway.
You wouldn't have made the full U-turn. It would have been a multi-attempt. It was too risky. Yeah. Without doing a rolling block and everything else, it was too...
And I guess you didn't have your traffic control at that time?
I had an Aero truck, but not enough to do a full roll. Yeah. Plus, not to mention, I had a new operator with me.
Oh.
It's about midnight. And so I'd have to go do the rolling block because I don't trust him to do that. And I don't trust him to turn the thing around.
Yeah.
On the highway with any sort of pressure on without jackknifing or whatever he would do.
Yep.
So, yeah, we lift the rear up, we put the good tire on, we drop it, we flip the tow truck around again. Luckily, we had enough gaps in traffic. Again, it wasn't super busy at that time of night, right? In our stretch of highway. Back around to the front, put the front tire on, spoon it, everything go. And then at that point, I decide this thing is going down about 150 kilometers, and this guy's rarely operated this truck. And now I'm going to ask him to do it with a cube truck with no drive shaft. I'm like, knowing my luck, this kid
is going to set it down and it's going to roll downhill.
or he's gonna forget the light bar on it, or
Yeah.
he's gonna, like, guess what? I'm going. At that point, you already got me out. He couldn't. He's a great guy, but he didn't have the oomph to get those lug nuts loose.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm like, you know what? Like, I'm already this far into it at this point. I'm invested.
Mm-hmm.
I'm invested. I'm going down.
I mean, everyone bitches and complains to me because I'm the only one who carries a like a 3.5, 4 ton floor jack in my tow truck.
Yeah.
And everyone else runs like the 1.5 ton little pump jacks and everything like that. And I get it. They're light. They're nice and easy. They're cheap to replace. But I drive a 5500 Ram that does a lot of frame forking and stuff like that. And I've got that separate wheel lift and boom. So I don't have much height, right? Especially if I got a fork front axles. So I want a jack that I can jack up at least a corner to be able to get my wheel lift and at least a small little Lego hand underneath that axle to be able to pick it up. Because yeah, you could use the wheel lift and pick right up off the springs, depending, like a lot of the old Internationals, you can grab the springs and just lift up and get a block of wood. But that's kind of sketchy because you're not actually holding on to anything.
Well, if you use the spring adapters, it's actually pretty cool how those things work. If you haven't
I
seen
don't
them
have
before.
spring adapters. I'm not there. yet.
What does having an independent boom or an independent wheel lift have to do with
Well, I
getting
don't have the
underneath?
height with like a Z boom would. So if I got a double pick a lot of times.
Oh, okay. I see what you're
Yeah.
saying. It's not about getting under the first time. It'd be getting under with tall forks. You'd
Yeah.
have to use your tall forks. Therefore, you got a double pick. I'm with you now.
Yeah. And
Okay.
at the same time, your instance that you just said,
Mhm.
I like to have that big jack because then at least I know I could lift up any corner of my tow truck or hell, even a front or a back side of my tow truck at once, if need be,
Yeah.
to change dually tires in case one of them goes flat or whatever. Or in a situation like yours, you're on the highway, you're pretty much by yourself. Just, it would have made it a lot simpler if you had a nice big jack that worked.
Oh, it would have been a nightmare to do it by myself. At least
Yeah.
with two guys and being able to coordinate things, it definitely helped. But at the same time, it's like I feel like a hypocrite saying this because I have a 3.5 ton jack in even my truck that I have now, my pickup.
Mhm.
That thing weighs a ton.
Oh yeah, if you do like 3 or 4 tire changes in a day, your arms are tired just from lifting that thing out
Yeah,
in and out of the
so
box.
I can sit there and say, yeah, absolutely, this needs to be in every truck. But then I go, I don't do as many tire changes anymore as these guys do.
Yeah.
So to sit there and say, you know, you guys need this big heavy jack, and I would hate to have that big heavy jack.
Yeah.
Makes me everything that I hated about bosses that I've had in the past. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, what do you know? You're not doing it anymore.
So that's the way I feel like, because I made the decision. The previous jack that the company supplied me was just one of the small ones. It broke. And that was the second jack I went through in 2 years. Right? They're just crummy little jacks.
yeah,
Right?
a little ton and a half.
Especially since they rattle around the tunnel box and they don't have a well treated life. And this 4 ton jack or 3.5 ton jack was on sale for, I think it was $50 more than what the smaller jacks were. And I was like, for $50, this jack's going to last me at least twice as long. And it's going to be able to do everything that other jack could, plus more. And I'm in this truck myself 90% of the time. I want to use this jack. So I got that jack. And that was my own decision to make because I knew previously I've needed a jack that size to do my job efficiently.
Well, it's funny that you say that because not long ago you were the guy saying, I buy the cheapest tool that makes sense.
Yeah, I didn't pay for the jack. The company still paid for the jack.
Okay, so that's why you spent the extra $50.
Yeah.
Because if that's coming out of TowManG's bank account, he'd be lucky if he's not stealing the crank up jack out of the customer's car.
Well,
Do you remember we worked with a guy that did that?
He
would use the crank up jack out of customers' cars. It's not who you think it is, and I'll tell you after the show. But it is not. Yeah, it's not who you think it is. But he used the crank up jack out of the customer's car.
I mean,
like
I've done that
90%
before in a pinch.
100%.
Yeah.
I believe, like, I'm a big believer in getting the job done, and sometimes you got to do some things that you might not normally do. But like,
I had a
it
customer the
was
one
like a
time.
goal of his.
I had a customer the one time. I think it was like the first call in the day, and I wasn't able to do the whole pre-check, and I didn't have sockets in my truck, or I
Right.
didn't have the actual socket needed. So I use my jack. I jack up his car. I use his wrench out of the trunk of the car to change over the spare tire, and he told me to tighten the lug nuts back up and send someone else.
Okay, wait. At what point in the tire change did he tell you to do this?
As I'm breaking all his lug nuts free.
Why?
Because the last guy to change his tire had an impact gun, and I'm not saying that you can't do a good job with the tool, but I pay good money for my roadside service, and I expect an Ooga Dooga machine. He didn't
An
say
Ooga machine.
that's what he pretty much said. He didn't say Ooga Dooga machine, but
Oh, I
comedic
wish he did. I wish he did. That would make that story even better.
So I set the car back down. I tightened up the bolts. Called my manager. He came out with his Ooga Dooga machine and
Ooga
changed
dooga
his
dooga.
tire.
So that guy literally waited because he wanted it done with an impact gun.
Yep.
Does he know what kind of vehicle was this?
It was a Chevy Malibu, I think.
So
Rear tire.
it's 100 foot-pounds.
Yeah.
Did you have a torque wrench? I'm gonna guess no.
Yeah, I had a torque wrench, but I didn't have the socket for it.
Oh, so you're using, okay.
Right.
We've all been around long. If you've changed enough tires, you have a ballpark on what 100 foot-pounds is.
Like I've got that big jack. That jack handle comes off the jack and can slip right on those.
You're gonna have like 250, 300. You start
You
doing
want
that.
them tight? I'll get them tight.
I'll get them so tight they'll snap going down the road. But like, yeah, the fact that the guy wanted it because roadside customer.
Oh yeah.
Oh, of course it was.
Yeah. Yeah.
Of course it was. Roadside customers are the most entitled customers.
He was like, I don't mean to offend you. I'm sure you can do this. And I was like, I've done this a lot.
Well, you clearly are offending me, sir. Please don't assume my strength.
Yeah. And then he kept
I
trying
know
to give me $5.
I know I look frail and I look like I haven't eaten, and I'm an Ethiopian that hasn't eaten in 3 months. But please, sir, I assure you I can do this. I hate roadside customers.
Yeah.
They're just, we had one tonight, just tonight. One of my guys was heading out to a call, and it was a Ford something. I never got the full story on if it was ball joint, tie rod, or CV axle let go. Sounds like the CV axle's involved. Sounds like the tie rod might be gone. This guy's not the most mechanically inclined, so I wasn't getting the full understanding of what it was that was broken.
The tire's all wishy-washy.
But customer leaves it side of the highway, throws it in park, wheels crank to the right, takes off with the keys. Like, and it was one of those where it was one of those customers that's only covered for a certain amount of kilometers.
Yeah.
And it was like
a lower quality customer.
Yeah, the lower quality customer, the lower tier.
Yeah.
And anyways, my operator knew enough guy messaging me, and he goes like, "Hey, it's only like 3 kilometers, like extra. Should I charge them?" I'm like, and a lot of times you know how that works. Like, it's not worth the invoice to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, with our digital system, it makes it a heck of a lot easier to do.
Charge him for
but I'm
everything.
like, you know what? In this situation, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like, screw her.
Yeah.
And it wasn't
back to the point of pickup to pay the driver before he tows it.
Well, not even that. Like, it was going to the residence.
Oh, okay.
So they were going to be at the residence, but it's like, you crank, you leave your wheels, and then they probably and like, we responded in a 35-minute ETA.
Oh, that's good.
Like, we're not like, it amazes me, and I actually think roadsides are some of the, as much as I say I hate roadside customers, I do believe they are some of the more patient customers because they're not paying. They've already paid their membership.
Mm-hmm.
So they tend to willing to wait a little bit. Me, it's retail customers that go, okay, this is what I need. You're getting all the info. Okay, cool. How long till you can be here? Well, we can be there within 45 minutes. 30 minutes to 45 minutes, a pretty reasonable ETA.
Yeah.
And you hear 45 minutes? Well, let me call you back.
You're just down the street from me. I'm like your neighbor.
Yeah. And it's like, yeah, if I had all my trucks just sitting here waiting for you. And it's like, yes, I could probably get there within a 30, but I'm not going to tell you 30 because at 30, 25 minutes later, you're calling me back. So I'm going to give you the 45.
Yeah.
If you're not broke down in a live lane or broke down on a road,
Yeah.
you're going to get bumped down a little bit on the priority list.
I'm
but it's
sorry
just like
you got your lawnmower stuck in your backyard. We'll be there when we be there.
Middle of a snowstorm, people are calling.
Yeah.
It's going to be an hour and a half.
Mm-hmm.
An hour and a half. Yeah, because all the roads, have you seen them? You were just on them before you went in the ditch.
Guess what? There's 30 other people just like you sitting in a median, just like yours.
And I'm still going to get to you in an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Like, the patience of people is shit.
Yeah.
But roadside customers, like I said, their patience is normally pretty good. And it's great because you're not the bad guy because the roadside tells them it's going to be. And so and roadsides are no better.
No,
they give a 45-minute ETA, but by the time they're letting us know about the call, it's 15 minutes into it.
Yeah. What I really don't like is they'll say for an unlock in town, oh, it'll be 2 hours. But someone who wants to get towed going 5 hours one way, oh, they'll be there in 25 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can't you switch those around, please?
I had one of those last night where I had trucks going every which direction.
Mm-hmm.
I had one truck going to 450 kilometers west.
Mm.
I had another truck going 160 kilometers east.
Mm.
And I get a call for one going about 200 kilometers, or no, it was about 340 kilometers north.
Ouch.
And it's on a highway.
So
now you're starting to run into coverage issues.
Yeah.
Right?
Because
like
how many guys do you actually have on during the night?
Yeah. So I'm like, okay, look, here's what I can do.
Yeah.
I can go pick this one up and get it off the highway.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because obviously it's a safety issue and we want to get them off the highway. No problem. I got a guy that can do that right this second.
Mm-hmm.
But it might have to wait for me to actually tow it to where it needs to go.
Yep.
That might be a bit of a problem because of there's customers and, they don't want to, be stuck somewhere, which understandable, 100%.
We get that.
Meanwhile, I'm also looking and going, it's 11 o'clock at night. Who else are you going to find that's going to do this run?
Mm-hmm.
Nobody wants to do that run at this time of night. So anyways, they end up calling me back. Yeah, we're going to go ahead with that. And I'm like, well, I got good news. I made a phone call. I have an extra guy that's available now to stay in town because I need a guy in town.
Yeah.
I'm going to go. I'll pick it up. I got this one quick one to do, and then I'll pick it up and we'll go straight through with it. Oh, that'd be great. Perfect.
Yeah.
Work with, and it was roadsides.
Mm-hmm.
But, you give them the facts of life.
Yeah.
This is what it is. This is the situation. I want to provide you a great customer service. I want to provide the customer with great customer service.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I've got
other contracts
going on right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Other contracts, other customers that I need to, take care of as well. So if you can work with me, I'll work with you.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't want to work with me and you tell me to go kick rocks.
I always find that funny when roadsides don't work with you. Like you say, I'm sorry, I got to give you a 2-hour ETA just because everything's going on. You give them the whole spiel. And then they're like, okay, well, we'll see if we can find someone else. 3 hours later, they give the call back to you, expect you to be right there because it's past the 2 hours you said it was already going to be, but it hasn't been in your queue for the last 2 hours. So now it's going to be another 2 hours.
Yeah, you've been making plans outside of that. And,
I feel bad for the customer in that regard. But it's partially our fault because, I guess we just don't have the coverage available for the call volume that day. But it's also the roadside's fault for not putting enough faith in us to stay true to our word and say, well, yeah, the grass isn't greener on the other side. At least it'll get done.
The roadside's job is to shop calls like that, especially when ETAs start to play into it, right? Like that is the roadside job. And I get it. I've had that many times where they're like, hey, what would be your ETA for this? Yeah. And I give them an ETA and they said, leave it with me. Okay. And they'll call back 25, 30 minutes later and go, hey, I'll go ahead with that call. And I'm like, you realize I'll try and get it a little quicker, but it's, the ETA from now kind of thing because I've taken on other work in the time that you've told me you'll shop it around. Yeah. And they're normally pretty good to go. We've got to, as much as I hate roadsides and I will fight roadsides till the day I die.
We're not, right? This isn't just going to be one whole bitch fest. So
No. There's no love lost for roadsides, but at the same time, it's working with, right? I've developed and we've developed a relationship with these dispatchers with these call takers and with these roadsides. So it's like, hey, if you want to be a dick, like if I want to be a dick fully to the roadsides all the time, well, guess what? When I get that weird call where I've got extra mileage, or I need a second call for a traffic truck, or I need, something that is out of the norm that wouldn't be necessarily approved right away, and there's hoops you'd have to go through, they remember that.
Yep.
And they go, hey, these guys aren't bad. They don't, screw us every chance they get. They're reasonable and they operate their business properly. There's not a question of, like I've used my own roadside to have, let's be honest, I wasn't the member present. Right? And they know that.
Yep.
But it was a local tow, and I billed it as such. I didn't sit there and pretend that I was getting my personal vehicle towed 2 hours away to maximize my roadside.
You weren't using your roadside to move someone.
I gave you the card. What you did with that was your own business, and I want no part of it. Am I right on this? Am I free of any blame on this?
You're
okay.
Right.
I gave you my membership, and you did with it whatever you did with it. I knew nothing about it. I somehow all of a sudden they asked if I have an F-250 in my fleet, and I still don't know why. I think it's something to do with medium duty. But yes, I have abused my roadside privileges.
Yeah.
But within reason.
Yep.
That one wasn't within reason. I had my car towed down, though, because I had the U-Haul and everything else. I had my car towed down, and I did the same thing when I moved again. I had my car towed down. And, gave the operator a little bit of extra cash.
I don't really see anything wrong with that, because at the end of the day, you still pay for a service, and the service that you pay for, it gives you 4 or 5 allotted calls per year, and there's nothing saying that you shouldn't use these. If they didn't want you to use them, they would give you fewer calls that you can use per year.
Or unlimited calls to one specific garage.
For some roadsides, yes.
For my roadside.
Okay. Oh, you're not with. Okay.
Oh, who am I with?
Well, I know exactly who you're with.
But yes, so again, yeah, you pay for the services, and I don't mind, right? I've ran into people that do that, and I need to get this car moved, and I don't mind. You do it to me at 2:00 in the morning and see how I feel.
Yeah. But I've delivered gas to people in their driveways, and they already have half a tank of fuel.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I've never done that one.
It's like, I could get 10 liters of free gas, and tomorrow my membership renews. So it's like, no, fair enough.
I love roadside members and how smart they are. We had a guy he had a roadside. I don't know if I ever told you this story, but he had a roadside through like his cell phone provider, which was through one of the common, this is years ago. This is like over 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And through one of the common roadside, companies.
Yeah.
So they would provide a set amount for the service. So he would be covered for, let's say, $50, and that would include fuel. That would include, base rate, mileage too, everything. He was covered for $50. He paid for anything above that.
Yep.
Well, and hey, we're going back a while. So rates were cheap, and so was gas.
Yeah.
And he would get, I can't remember how many liters, but he'd do it. They didn't seem to have a cap on it.
Oh.
So he just kept doing it. And we just kept billing it. And like it was like I went out there like 4 times in a day. And I think he finally ended up with 10 liters.
Wow.
And it was like, man, you are persistent, because like we know how long getting through on the phones. Again, this was a different time back then. It wasn't like it is now. Now it's damn near, I am the advocate for I would rather use the app.
No.
When I absolutely screw that person's job if they can't answer their phone.
No.
I will use the app. You know why? A, I don't like people.
That's valid.
And B, I do not want to explain to somebody that doesn't know the difference between a tire and a fucking light bulb what is wrong with my car and what equipment that I need. Right? Especially when I guess I'm biased because I'm in the industry.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like, oh, okay. And what's wrong with and the best part is all that info they take, they don't even give it to the goddamn towing company.
This is true.
Right?
Yeah.
Like how many times have you showed up to a customer And they sit there and I'm like, okay, so what's wrong with it? Well, I told them it was this and this and this and this and this. And I'm like, yeah, I got like stalled while driving.
Yeah, in your driveway, which makes perfect sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
Other
Stalled while
required tow, and you get there and it's 4 flat tires.
I had runs poorly, and then in the comments 4 flat tires, and I'm like, well, I'm guessing it runs like shit with 4 flat tires. So it's like, why would I spend this time interacting with this twig on the other side of the phone, only to not get the information passed on?
Yep.
So again,
But
I deal with supervisors, and they know their stuff a little better.
You have a different software where you actually see it. For me, the app calls, when I get those,
It's very similar.
normally the information's all wrong. A lot of times the tow destination doesn't actually get pegged. So it just says Toronto as the tow destination. So then we always have to call the customer, member, whatever.
Oh, I love that. Member will advise. No, you tell me.
Yeah.
You tell me. That customer has called you.
Yeah.
And if you are a customer for whatever reason, I hate you. I hate you.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm going to call a tow truck because my car won't start in the driveway.
Yeah.
Okay. They'll be there within 45 minutes. Perfect.
Yeah.
You show up 45 minutes later. You pull in the driveway. No one to be seen. Knock on the door. Oh, I didn't expect you so soon. Yes, you did. Look, it says right here. This is when you were to expect me.
Yeah.
Oh, let me go find my keys. Okay. Is it unlocked? No. But it won't start? No. You didn't want to leave it unlocked? So I can get started?
I can see if I could get it going for you. Oh, that would be great. Okay, so I'll just sit here for 10 minutes while you fumble around for your keys and let your dog out at the same time.
Yeah, so I can at least pop the hood and get started on this gong show.
See if your battery's fully charged or not. Start knocking a few pegs off the board.
Oh, well, let me go find them. You had 45 minutes, Ethel. Get on it.
What do you mean find them? You don't know where you put your keys every day?
I can tell you where my keys are right now. And I get towing is a stressful situation.
Yeah.
I do. Yeah. Right? I get when you're involved in an accident, and these people are the worst. This car could be a write-off.
Locks it. Keeps their keys in their pocket.
Takes the fucking keys with them. God damn it.
Yeah.
Like, you're on a scene, there's fire everywhere. This car looks like it's fucking just mangled.
Yeah.
But it's still got a little bit of steering and a good wheel that I'd like to be able to turn. Reach in. The hell the keys, like, who is like, oh, bang, oh, better grab my keys.
Yeah.
Fuck. God damn it. They left an ambulance, they took their keys. If they were that banged up that they needed to leave in an ambulance, they didn't take their keys.
Yeah.
That is like, if you are well enough to go to the doctors to get a note, you're well enough to go to work. If you need to leave, if you take your keys with you, you are not banged up enough that you need an ambulance.
I always love it. I need to find my phone. I don't know where my phone is. And the people that know exactly where their phone is, 9 times out of 10, they had it in their hand when they wrecked.
Yeah, that's true. But no, it's like I said, going back to you get to Ethel in the driveway. Right? We use Ethel for a reference. And it's like, oh, well, let me go find the keys. Okay. Or do you need to see my roadside credentials? No, it's okay. Are you sure? Okay, fine. Show them to me.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm the service calls. I'm here
I
anyways.
need to sign? Oh, you're fine. Are you sure? Yes.
Yeah. Yes, you're fine. Well, I'd feel better. If what? If what, Ethel? What do you need? Oh, no. And you do this all, like, these are the inner thoughts that go through your head. Obviously, you can't say this to the customer.
Yeah.
Right? Obviously, you know how many times, like, you bite your tongue all the time. I have let them slip. I let them slip every once in a while. I had somebody, what was the one line I got them with? They were coming to get a vehicle out of an impound.
Yeah.
And I don't remember the reason for the impound, but I got them with two of them. First, they asked me, and you've been that, if you work for a towing company named Carl's or Joe's,
Hey,
or
Joe.
they'll always ask you, are you Joe?
Yeah.
And I said, no, ma'am. If I was Joe, I'd have less hair and more money.
Yeah.
And they kind of chuckled.
I know your boss.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It works really well. Joe's got very little hair. Anyways, then they see like we've got some, sweaters and different things up on a rack. She goes, "What do I got to do to get a free sweater?" And I'm like, "Not get your vehicle impounded. That's a sure way to win that contest." My dispatcher, who's sitting behind me, is now dying. And it just happens so quick, right? I filter lacking in, out, not even thinking how well this could or couldn't go. And then it was something like, well, can I have one of these little calendars? Absolutely. That's the runner-up prize. And they pay their bill and they go get their car. I mean, was that customer service top notch? It might have been lacking. We've talked about reading your customers, right? Like, I don't want to sit here and be a hypocrite and say, you've got to watch exactly what you say and let's be honest, right? As much as I'm the first guy to want to help improve the towing industry, we're human. You don't think a cop has let one fly like that every once in a while?
I always love it when you're saying goodbye and they're like, "Oh, I'll see you later," and you say, "Hopefully not."
I do it the other way. Normally I say, or no, I go, "Take care." And they'll tell you something like, "Don't take it personally, but I hope to never see you again."
Yeah.
And I'm like,
better circumstances next time.
I always say my wife says the same thing, but I keep coming home every day. There's always, it's same thing. I always go to a customer, "How you doing today?" And then I go, "That's a terrible question to ask. I'm sorry."
Yeah.
Gets a little chuckle out of them, right? Like you have a little, people will appreciate that little fun. Like these people at the impound, I was just straight up savage them. I was just straight up, having a good time at their expense.
Yeah. I'm normally very real with everyone who comes into my impound because they know they screwed up. Because
It's like an impound release.
Yeah.
Like an impaired or a stunt or
Yeah. So it's normally a little bit of like joking. We have all indoor storage. It's like, yeah, it's parked inside. Still might not start because I don't know how good your battery is. Shit like that. And we normally just try to have an okay time. Depending like how they come in and how they're acting. Sometimes you'll let one fly and you'll poke at them like, are you gonna slow down this time, buddy, or whatever. I'm trying to keep it PG. I'm not gonna, Plus, I'm drawing a blank because I'm kind of slow. But like, you try to do that because it's a learning experience. I had this one kid. He came in with his mother. He got into an accident. It was a DUI. He shoved his Jetta into a ditch, and it took up the one fender, and it peeled the fender back. And other than cosmetics, there wasn't really anything wrong with it. He was going to get his mother to drive the car from my impound across the street to the repair shop where it was going to be fixed, right? And since he doesn't have a license, he can't drive it on the road. And he came in and he paid his bill. He was very polite with me. He seemed to be apologetic for what he did. And I said to him, his mother didn't want to drive it across the street. So he said, well, I was going to see if I can get you to tow it across the street. It's like, well, I had it running today. It runs and drives. I'll just drive it across the street for you.
Right.
That's the least I could do. He's a young kid. He's already screwed up his life, and he seems to realize that.
Yeah.
The least I could do is
and then you get T-boned. And then you get T-boned going across the road.
Yeah, that would be my luck, right? But I drove around the lot for him to make sure that the car was working okay, like mechanically. He was happy, and the mother gave me $20 for being a nice guy, which I've been tipped doing impound releases twice.
That's impressive.
That was the second time.
Yeah, that's absolutely impressive.
Yeah.
That's not only spot they're tipping at.
No. Like, it always catches me right off guard because I don't expect that is the last thing I expect in a situation like that.
I think I have, not here, but when we worked together, I believe I had.
Yeah.
And I think it was because it was an after hours thing, even though we charged the after hours,
Yeah.
the guy still threw a couple extra bucks for it or something, which again is strange.
Yeah.
But no, it's like I said, you gotta have fun with the people. And you know, impound releases are always one of the toughest situations to do it in.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, it's if you can't have fun and take the odd shot whenever you get it, right? Like what are you gonna do? Hey, have you seen this photo? I want to show you this one. I want to see if you've let's switch to here and to
Oh,
here.
you sent this to me. Yeah,
Okay.
I saw that.
These photos took me. I cycled through all of them before I understood. Like I seen this first photo.
Yeah.
And I didn't see the second one because it's later on the post. And then I seen these photos, and I went, okay. So I'm like,
It's not a Tesla.
no, I think it's a Mercedes. No, because there's an exhaust pipe
Oh, yeah,
underneath.
there is
It's
an
definitely
exhaust
not a
pipe.
Tesla. So, but it took me a second that I didn't realize the big gaping hole in the top
The
of the
auditorium.
gymnasium
Yeah.
on either photo. Like I didn't notice it here when I first seen this inner. I'm looking at that inner going, that's a launch. Like, oh, he hit that and he must have ended up going through the wall. And when I went to the second group of photos, I'm still looking down at the bottom.
He went through the second story of a gym.
Yeah.
He launched off what looks to be a roundabout that was probably at least 100, 150 meters away from the building.
It's insane. I don't know.
It's got to be photoshopped.
Big. You would think, but
Unless,
I mean, it's a great Photoshop.
I wish,
let's be honest.
The road where it goes, there's probably a berm right before the actual building, because to get that kind of height, you would need to launch close.
Yeah, there's no way you hit it from here. But like, there's this post up on the left side is dinged down. Like, and what's actually, if you think of the context of this photo, not only if this is real, did he launch?
He also flipped.
He also 180'd.
Yeah.
Because the way this car is facing.
Well, that would probably happen when you jump anything, you start coming down, and when you hit that wall, that would probably flip you around.
Well, he didn't hit that car. He didn't hit that wall sideways. He hit that straight.
Yeah.
Look at the size of the hole. It's got to be photoshopped. It's got to be photoshopped where like this was a storm and something happened and somebody just photoshopped a car inside the gymnasium.
Well, I mean, it could have even been a tornado that went through and threw that car through the gymnasium.
Okay, you think on all the other stuff that we are seeing here, look at this building. You're telling me a tornado just picked up the car? It didn't knock over the light post. It didn't rip up any of these weeds, and it just threw the car.
But like, I don't see takeoff marks off that grass there or anything. And
I think it was off the post. I think it's like a little
there's
half
a
wall.
picture on that wall, like ahead of that building.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that post is part of the launch point. Like, and the concrete. If it's real, if you have seen these photos and you know any more than we know.
I mean, like, it's
I got no reason
too in depth to be Photoshop.
I know. I mean, I guess you could just throw a car on it, but I don't like the car is even smashed up, and I don't know. If that is real, that is awesome.
Like, how do you recover that? Because you're not pulling it back through the way it went in.
No, not at all. Not at all. The license plate is even covered, which makes me think that it was legit.
Mm-hmm.
It was legit. Like I said, that's a heck of a. That's a ride.
I looked at those pictures while I was doing my morning business this morning when you sent them to me, and I was dumbfounded. I stopped doing my business because I was just, my brain was trying to calculate, and I could only focus on one thing at a time, and that was it.
My brain was filling up and my body had to stop emptying. That's hilarious. That's hilarious. Yeah, I know. I'm still trying to wrap my head. Like, part of me thinks it's got to be fake, and then part of me goes, I got no reason to believe it's not real.
We've seen weird and wacky things, especially in the towing industry.
God, have we?
Nothing's impossible.
No. There is nothing now that we pull up on that you go, that's not possible. Right? I've been at it long enough that
plausible. plausible. Yeah.
English is hard.
English is very hard. But I was always thinking about the Mythbusters. Impossible, plausible.
Yes.
Yeah.
Possible.
Yeah. The middle one.
The
Very
middle one.
rare. Very
I
rare.
miss Mythbusters. That was a good show.
Yeah, that was a good show. That was a childhood and half right there.
They should bring that back and do a theory on the higher you lift, the car does not take weight off of your wheel lift.
I love it when you pick something up and they're like, "Oh, is my bumper gonna drag every time you hit a bump?"
Only
No,
the
if
good
I
ones.
did that, I wouldn't have a job because I would have to pay for bumpers and tailpipes every time.
I like the people when you're driving a flatbed and you're just moseying along the highway and they're in the mirrors constantly checking. Is my car still there?
Yeah.
And that's where I always give them the good old, like, don't worry, we have a policy. If the car's not there when we get there, the tow is free.
I got them sitting in the back seat and I pushed the rear view camera button. I was like, "Oh, goody, your car's still there." And they look at me. I was like, "Hasn't came off yet."
We might make it.
Yeah.
We might make it.
But yeah, I say that line too. I think you taught me that line.
Yeah.
It
If
doesn't
we
make
get
it there
there,
by the time we get there. The tow is free.
yep. Yeah. If your car's
Oh,
not there
the
when we
tow
get
is
there.
free because the roadside is like, "Oh, don't worry, I'll reimburse you your roadside tow."
Yeah. I think that's the moral of the story today is roadsides are great.
They
And the
serve a
same-
purpose. They do serve a purpose. The way they go about it sometimes just makes us want to pull our hair out. But at the end of the day, 80% or more people out there have roadsides, and unfortunately, right now they're a necessary evil.
I would like to say that since I've moved out of the region in which you are and back into my region,
Mhm.
roadsides are much more pleasant to deal with.
Yeah.
Customers, equally as bad. Roadside's much more pleasant. So on that note, I'm not doing an outro
Okay.
because this wasn't a show.
No
This was you and me sitting down and talking about our stories, our weeks, our fun,
Yeah.
everything that this podcast was supposed to be.
Quit
So,
listening in on our conversations.
yeah, Canada's got a one-party consent law on recordings,
Yeah.
and neither of us give consent.
No. So I don't know what that means when I have to edit all this and upload it and post it places. I don't know how that's going to work. But stop listening. If you're still listening, just stop. There's nothing else coming after. Just bye.